everyone, I just want to get you started on the right foot with these exercises. So what you should do is first read the problem carefully to understand what is the input of the command and what is the output of the command. And then you can go ahead and create the command. So I'm going to copy it, and then here inside Eclipse, I'm going to paste it. So this problem number 1 is asking me to create this command, first or last. I've created the command outside my main method, and what you want to do is you want to test the command inside the main method, because remember, this is just declaring how is this command going to work. You actually want to run the command from inside here. Okay, well, before I can do anything, I want to understand what's it supposed to do. So let's go back. It says given an array of ints. So given, that means that's the input. So it's going to give me an array of integers as input, and I'm going to give as output the value true if 6 is either the first thing or the last thing in the array. Alright, so here I am. Let's go ahead and write this command. So if I want to check the first thing in the list, well, okay, so I want to know, is the first thing in the list a 6? So I could say if, let's see, what's the first thing in the list? It's list location 0. Alright, so if that's equal to 6, then I know I want my output to be true. So I'll return true. Okay, or the last thing in the list. So list, okay, what location? So I know I need a location. It's like the same test. I'm testing, is something in the list equal to 6? So the location of the last thing in the list is list.length. And so if now the last thing in the list is 6, I'll also return true. And if neither of those things are true, then I'll return false, because I know the first thing in the list isn't 6 and the last thing in the list isn't 6. Remember, as soon as I hit return true, I'll exit immediately, so it's not going to return true and then keep going and later return false. Okay, so I think my method works, but now I want to test to make sure. So I'll create an int array here called list1, and let's give it a couple numbers, and let's have it end with 6. And now let's make another one, list2, that has a couple numbers starting with 6. And now let's make list3 and have some values where 6 is in there, but it's not the first thing or the last thing. So the reason why is because I think my command should return true for list1, because 6 is the last thing. It should return true for list 2, because 6 is the first thing, but it should return false for list 3. So let's test it out. So I'm going to print line the result of first or last with list 1. And I'm going to add a comment here, test problem 1. Okay, so what's going to happen is I've got this list. That list is the one that I'm using as input for my command. So it's going to take this list, list 1, and it's going to give those values as the input here. And so then I'm going to take that list and I'm going to check these things and I'm going to return true or false. And when I do it, we'll print it out. So let's go ahead and run it. So it says index array out of bounds 4. So if you remember, that means I'm trying to access a location that doesn't exist in the array. And 4 is the location that doesn't exist. So what's going on here? Aha, I know what's going on. List.length tells me how many things are in the array. List.length minus 1 is the location of the last thing. Okay, so let's try it again. Okay, so it returns true, and that makes sense because 6 is the last thing in the list. Let's give it list 3. So now I'm running the same command on list 3, and when I run it, it displays false because the first and the last thing aren't 6. Let's run it on list 2. True. Great. Because the first thing is 6. So I've successfully written this new command where you give it a list as input, and it will tell you true or false is either the first thing or the last thing is 6. So that's the idea. The way you'd continue from here is you'd go back to the problems. You see, okay, so now I'm writing another command. Here's the name of the command. Make sure you don't create it inside main. Make sure you create it outside of main. And then you're going to want to add test for problem 2. And let's system.out.println, same, first, last, and we'll give it an input like list1. So it's exactly the same thing as before. You're going to define how the command works right here, but you're going to run it right here to make sure it actually does what you think it's supposed to. You know what? In order not to get confused, I'm going to do this. Problem 2, and then problem 1. Because otherwise I might forget what output comes from what. Okay, so there you go. That's the idea. Good luck.